Baby boomers treated their children like fucking animals, like dogs and cats. Wait a minute. Actually, they treated their children worse than a fucking dog and a cat.
Baby boomers, the original me generation, still don't understand. They don't understand the hardships that people younger than them have gone through. Also, they simply don't care. In today's video, we'll discuss why baby boomers still don't understand and the effects that it's having on society. Originally, I released part of this video discussing the passing of Hulk Hogan and his legacy as a boomer, but we're going to be expanding upon that. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video. And also, guys, don't let them convince you that you will own nothing and be happy. Go and check out Angry's Crypto Academy to learn how to buy, sell, and trade crypto while making massive profit, which is also linked in the description of the video. And now let's go ahead and jump right in.
This is Darlene, and let me read her comment. I'm a boomer. I worked hard, and I still work my butt off. My dad taught us great work ethic. I don't have a lot, but I am proud of what I've earned. I'm very independent and have never depended on anyone. Now, because Darlene did not come with a bunch of toxic nonsense, I am going to treat her comment as very genuine and authentic, but I want to talk about some things. So, okay, Darlene, and for everybody else, I want you to pay attention, please. No one is saying that at the end of the day, baby boomers didn't work hard. And so what we're often doing there is a situation that I often call not completing the sentence, right? It's baby boomers didn't work hard, ... compared to what is expected of today's generation out in the economy to achieve the same thing, right? Let me say that again. Baby boomers didn't work hard compared to what is expected of younger generations in order to achieve the same thing, right? I'm sure you worked hard. I'm sure you worked your butt off. I'm sure you saved. And I'm sure when you finally were able to get the things that got you ahead, you felt very good, and you should have. You absolutely should have. But now imagine with the same earning potential. Please, for the sake of argument, imagine, because you remember your experience, you remember what you made, you remember how hard you scrimped and saved. Now imagine that every house that was available for you to buy was 10 times more expensive. Every car that you went to buy was 3 times more expensive. You remember, let's go back, right? Whenever you were 80s, 90s, you remember what you made. That new car was 10 grand, whatever. That new house cost you 150, whatever. Like, imagine you went to buy that same $150,000 house. You got that nice house in the nice area of town for 150. Imagine that at the same time that house cost $600,000, right? Imagine that car that you wanted for 10 grand, that really, really nice sedan that you were so excited to go get. Imagine instead that car cost $35,000 when you went to buy it. This is the ecosystem, right? And I do think that we're all guilty of this situation of not saying the whole sentence. I think that's a very fair argument. But when we are talking, what we are saying is boomers did not work hard compared to what is expected of today's people in the economy in order to achieve the exact same thing. And that is the thing that people have to remember. That is the thing that we ask of you, of your generation, to take a step back and really genuinely look when people are complaining.
Baby boomers treated their children like fucking animals, like dogs and cats. Wait a minute. Actually, they treated their children worse than a fucking dog and a cat. I've seen pet owners love on their animals more than a baby boomer loved on their child. See, baby boomers love to throw that line in their children's face. I provided a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table. Well, guess what, mom and dad? You're supposed to provide the same thing for a fucking dog and a cat. Your pets require that too. And to all my pet owners, what happens if you get caught abusing your dog or cat? You can get reported and get in big trouble for that. Okay? You're not supposed to abuse your dog and cats. There are consequences for that. But yes, dogs and cats, your pets, require food and shelter as well. So the fact that the baby boomers would try to guilt trip their own children by saying, at least you had food, clothing, shelter, that's ignorant as fuck. Why don't you show your children love, real love, genuine love, pure love from the heart? That's what children require more than anything. Food, clothing, and shelter are the bare fucking minimum. And the child did not ask to be here. You planned the pregnancy, whether it was planned or unplanned. The child did not ask to fucking be born here. So don't put that guilt on the child. Well, at least I provided a roof over your head, clothes on the table, clothes on the back, food on the table. Don't do that to your kids because it's fucking wrong. And then you call them ungrateful. They didn't ask to fucking be here. The child needs love. Just say you're incapable of showing empathy and loving and nurturing your children, shitty ass parent. And can we praise the dog owners and cat owners that love on their animals better than the fucking baby boomers love on their children? They show their dogs and cats so much empathy, hugs, kisses, nurturing, letting their dogs sleep in the bed with them. Like I said, pet owners treat their fucking animals better than the boomers treated their own fucking kids. Then when your child grows up to become an adult and they don't want shit to do with you, you want to sit up and cry victim and complain and call your children ungrateful. No, you were a terrible fucking parent, incapable of nurturing and showing your child empathy. There was no emotional connection because you're a fucking narcissist. Most baby boomers are narcissists. And you would never treat an animal like that. So why treat your child the same way?
I look at Bill Burr, and I'm going to use him as an example. There's this notion in American society that white people do not use corporal discipline on their kids. And it amazes me because there are also white people who basically are like, oh, well, you need to discipline those kids. As if, and then they're like, look at the black guys over there. They know how to discipline those kids. They know how to discipline those kids. And yet look at the current state that the black community is in. And I'm not saying anything disrespectful. I'm just making obvious points. To be very clear, using corporal discipline solely or primarily to discipline your kids is not an effective way of raising healthy, mentally well children. It's a way of raising very anxious children, very frightened children, broken children, and children who often end up repeating the same pattern that they experienced later on in life. I just want to put this out there. One of the primary reasons why so many white people don't use corporal discipline, did not use corporal discipline specifically for my generation, didn't use corporal discipline when it came to their kids, is because of the baby boomers. Because our parents were very toxic. Our parents would discipline us for anything. They could discipline us for doing homework. For doing homework when they told us to go do something else. I literally got my butt kicked for doing homework when I was told that I should have been reading the Bible. What are you doing at the table? I'm doing my homework. Don't you know it's time to read the Bible? Boom, 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 boom. This is the craziest. This is how insane the boomers were. Your time belonged to them. You belonged to them. You were their property, and they didn't give a damn about you either because they were very neglectful when it came to us. I remember breaking my ankle, and my baby boomer doctor basically could care less. And I spent months I was in a cast for around 6 months because the break was so bad, and they just didn't care. And I would literally lay at home screaming. I missed an entire semester of school. I would lay in bed screaming about all the pain, and my mother would just say, okay, I hear you. Now can you be quiet? And eventually, after maybe around 3 months of yelling and screaming that I'm in still so much pain and it's not healing, finally we go back to the same doctor and he goes, oh, I messed up. I made a mistake. Yeah, there's a bunch of fractures here. I missed it. Literally, baby boomer doctor goes, yeah, there's a bunch of fractures here. I missed it. What you had, because I had a compound fracture where the bone is sticking through the skin, and because I broke an ankle, and literally, they just didn't care. My parents didn't care. My mother didn't care. The doctor didn't care. No one cared. Okay? This is who these people were. This is how messed up these people were. I missed an entire semester of school. I still graduated on time. I'll explain to you how I graduated on time. I graduated on time because it was my goal to finish high school early and to go to college early. So I worked really, really hard and I took lots of credits and I was taking so many credits and working so hard in school that I would graduate a year early. So by the time I got to my sophomore year, I was almost a year ahead. But all of that ended up being lost when I was out of school for an entire semester, and it completely threw me off. And I share that example because I want you to understand how boomers operate. They were extreme disciplinarians. They were extreme at everything. They did not really offer sufficient love. They didn't have it inside of them, despite the fact that their parents were very kind to them. Their parents gave them everything that they wanted and really stuff they shouldn't have gotten. And then they grew up basically saying that they didn't want to give their kids anything. Even to this day, many boomers have made it clear that when they pass away, any money that they have will go with them. It will go to charity, it will go to the state, or they will spend it. They will spend it all before they pass. That's why many of them are joining the die with nothing or die with zero movement, where the idea is to pass away with $0 in your checking account. And the notion is our children will be fine, but this is my time to shine. This is why boomers are going on these vacations on Carnival cruises. They're taking they're taking Carnival cruises to nowhere, cruises to nowhere. What does that mean? They basically sell their homes and cash out their 401k and then decide that they're going to spend the rest of their lives living on cruise ships and just travel the entire world for the rest of their lives. These are people who do not like their kids. And what happens if it doesn't work out for them? It's simple. Then they'll go find their children and tell their children, you have to take care of me. So that's how it usually works. When you're in your 50s, right around when you're in your 50s, you'll get a knock on the door from your parents before they end up homeless, telling you that they're broke and they need you to house them, provide food for them, and help them with their finances because they're broke and they really can't, and they're out of options. And even at that age, you're still going to be out there partying. The real point I was trying to make when I just said, a lot of white people my age don't use corporal discipline when it comes to their kids, older millennials, Gen Xers, there's a reason why our generation didn't do these things. Because our parents were so harsh on us that we are afraid of passing on the same trauma onto our kids. Ironically, our kids, our crappy kids, Gen Z, ended up becoming just like the boomers. But a lot of that had to do with social media, not because of how we raised them, not because we gave them everything and anything. We didn't give them everything and anything because we didn't have everything and anything to give to them. The problem is that with social media, they grew up believing that they were entitled to everything and anything. They also grew up with servants. What do I mean by servants? If they wanted something, if they wanted food, they don't go to McDonald's. They don't walk to McDonald's like we had to do as kids, all right, with our tiny pocket money. No, they just pick up a phone and order from DoorDash. They order from Uber Eats. And if you ever say to them that, this is not how we were raised, they'll say something like, you're just jealous of our lives. This is what they were saying for the last couple of years until life just really caught up to them, that we were jealous of their lives. But it's like, bro, you're a brokey. Your life because you think that you're entitled things, because you think that you can DoorDash everything. No, you're a brokey. And now they're kind of like now they're like pissed off because they realize that, things are just not turning out the way they expected. And they believe that they're entitled to everything, just like the boomers. But the reason why so many parents from my generation don't discipline their kids the way that the boomers did is because we are traumatized. We are afraid of doing to our children what our parents did to us. And a lot of it is a bit of an overcorrection. Because then you end up with these kids who clearly would benefit from a bit of corporal discipline, but at the same time, you don't want it to be overhanded. You don't want it to be heavy. There's also another group of people from our generation who do use corporal discipline. And what they've done is they've done the exact same things to their parents, to their children, that their parents did to them, where they passed on their generational trauma onto their kids now. It's a terrible thing. If you look at the history books, the baby boomers are different from every previous generation and every generation except for Gen Z that came after them. With the way that they voted, with the way that they live, with their perspectives on the world. Of course, I'm going to have boomers saying things in the comments like, and then maybe some of their spawn, oh, stop like lumping everyone into a specific group. It's the same garbage that Gen Z says, because they don't want you to observe patterns and behaviors of the group. They want to deflect so they can continue doing what they've done without any type of accountability or anyone calling them out for it. It's always the ones who are like, well, stop talking about the group, stop blaming everything, stop blaming us based on our group. You're just putting us into boxes. We should be fighting for one another, not against each other. You're the people who've done it. You're the people who have all the power. You're the people who created this situation. We didn't do anything. I worked my butt off and blah, blah, blah. It's like the gentleman said earlier. It's not that we're not saying that boomers didn't work hard, but we've had to, many of them didn't, to be very honest with you. A lot of them didn't work hard at all. But we're not saying some boomers didn't work hard. What we're saying is they didn't have to work as hard as we have to have the exact same things that they had when they were our age. That's what we're saying. And of course, they will never acknowledge these things because they really don't care. They privately, sometimes they will privately acknowledge it. For example, there was a video from Andy. There was a comment that was left to Andy Matrix by a guy who reached out to him. It's like, he's like, hey, Andy, I'm a white guy. And you know what? I've been out here. I'm a baby boomer. I'm a white guy. And I'll tell you, it's hard out here. And now I see what the young people were talking about. Because back when I was growing up, all you had to do was basically be a white guy and you would get a job. It didn't matter if you were smart. It didn't matter what skill sets you had. You would basically just get a job. That's how easy life was for these people. My parents, right around the mid 90s, were making somewhere around $80,000 to $100,000 combined, and they would say that they are poor people. Poor people. How the hell are you poor people? Like, you're in like the top. At that point, you're like in the top maybe 20% of Americans, and you are poor people. Poor people, bro. And that was how all boomers thought. You can be in the top 20% of Americans. Top 20%. And you're calling yourselves poor people. Poor people. You're buying cars with cash. Cash. You have money like that. You're able to buy homes, like put down payment on a house just with with straight cash very easily with a low mortgage, and then just keep refinancing and putting that money back in your pocket while your family members are also handing you money. Like my parents, I never knew about this. I never knew that my parents were getting money from our relatives. And someone said this, back in those days, people used to just give the boomers homes as well. It's true. A lot of baby boomers were just gifted homes by their parents. And I witnessed this happen because like I was even like 20 years, it wasn't 20 years ago, but maybe around 15 years ago, but it may have been closer to 20 for the people who experienced this. There was this girl, and her parents gifted her and her husband a house, and they literally destroyed the house. They destroyed the property. But back when the boomers were growing up, it was even more normal for them, depending on where you lived, to just be gifted a house by your parents. Your parents would just buy you your first house, your first starter home. They were handed everything. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now.
Growing up with parents who were baby boomers, we all were told the same thing. I don't know if there was just a universal language that they adopted, but they all told us the same thing. Every boomer parent told their kid, when I was your age, I used to have to walk X amount of miles to get to school in this kind of weather. And here's a list of things that they told us growing up that all of you have all heard, no matter what race and nationality you are. Starting with this one. Go outside. Don't be running back and forth in and out of this house letting my air out. Here's another one. You bought this on yourself. Stop running in and out of this kitchen. Stay outside. If you thirsty, use the water hose. Wipe that smile off your face or I'ma wipe it off for you. Oh, you think you smart. Why, mama? Because I said so. Kids are seen, not heard. Keep talking, which really meant don't talk. Here's another one. Just wait until we get home. Don't cross your eyes. They're going to get stuck like that. Stop sitting so close to the television. You're going to go blind. Here's another one. And who do you think you are? The Queen of Sheba? I don't even think that's a real place. Where is Sheba? Make sure you're home by the time them street lights come on. Don't make me come out there looking for you. When we get in this store, you already know the rest. Here's something that the White Houses used to always say. Knock it off. They didn't tell us that, though. But I know your parents did, if you're white. Instead, they said, I'm going to slap you into the middle of next week. Every black mama said, if I got to tell you one more time, for the people that had daddies in their house, wait till your father gets home. I think this one is universal. Life's not fair.
So Hulk Hogan has passed away, and he leaves a very troubled legacy behind. Hulk has passed away. He passed away at 71 years old. Evidently, it was as a result of his heart just stopping. Again, we don't have all of the details. I don't know if there's going to be a post-mortem exam done, a full post-mortem exam. I assume it's possible, but it is just a very sad situation. Me personally, I have very mixed feelings when it comes to Hulk, specifically because of how he treated his family and my own personal relationship with my family, my baby boomer parents, and especially my father. So Hulk for us was like the pinnacle of wrestling. He defined wrestling. There's no other person. I don't think there's any other person for older millennials and Gen Xers that defined wrestling the way that Hulk Hogan did. He was the face of wrestling, plain and simple. You cannot say wrestling without Hulk Hogan. And the irony is that he passed away at such a young age of 71. And 71 is pretty young today. When he passed, he was in physically top shape. I mean, he had back issues and he had surgeries to correct them. So I'm not going to say he did not have ailments, but these are things that plagued him over, to my understanding, like most of his life. And it was a result more so of him being a wrestler. I mean, he even went back into the ring eventually, finally, once, he had like some back surgeries corrected and so forth. It was not so much age, it was more so wear and tear. We saw him at the Republican National Convention, I think it was, and he basically was talking in support of Trump last year, back in 2024, and now he's passed away. And you have to look at his legacy because, he spent so much time being the face of wrestling, but, but who was he really as a person? His daughter Brooke hasn't spoken to him in years, evidently. She hasn't spoken to him in years. I don't think she's spoken to her mother in years. She got married, had like 2 kids already, and she's more or less just avoided her parents. And she basically describes the relationship, I think, as like narcissistic ABUSC. And the sad thing is that I know exactly what that is, because what you see on television when they had their like Hogan Knows Best or whatever the hell the show was called versus what these people are actually like, it's hard. It's really, really hard. They are not nice people. They're not nice people. They're not generous people. They basically are like, all the toys are mine. It's really very much like that. And, my father stole from me growing up. Like, he literally stole money from me. That's how desperate he was. My father actually stole. And this is a guy who was like pulling like just insane amounts of money in the 90s with no college degree. He lived a relatively good life. He was able to afford a very nice house. He drove very nice cars, but my father did not like me. And he believed that he told me by the time when I was 14, that he told me before I was 14, like 7 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old. By the time you're 14, you need to get out. And I didn't go off to college until a little bit later after 18, and he just basically started stealing from me. And he was very, very serious, because that was basically his way of, I guess, of getting rent money out of me. Like, this is the type of person that he is. And I haven't seen him in almost 2 decades. And I heard recently that he has, CANCER. He's on his 3rd marriage. He basically married a bar girl. And I basically, like, you search around and you go on like Facebook, and yeah, it's not just like any bar girl. It's one of the really, really, bad ones. I don't know how else to characterize it. So the ones who dress provocatively, and it's like she's not even trying to hide it. Like, it's like on her Facebook, she's just wearing something that is just so inappropriate. And this is his wife, and she makes sure to put it out there. And he basically I saw a picture of him as well. I haven't seen him in over 20 years. Not 20 years, but I haven't seen him in almost 2 decades. And I saw a picture of him, and he looks really sick. He doesn't look well. He looks extremely ill. And he's like basically like still on his crap about forgiveness. And evidently he's like still traveling. Like, he's not well. He's traveling, going around, like having fun in the islands, and the different islands, like how the boomers travel to the Philippines, they travel to Thailand and Laos. He's basically on the world tour right now, even though he's extremely ill, and this woman is pushing him around in a wheelchair. So you guys can now, they talk about these people over in the Philippines all the time. The young ladies, they go and they look for these guys. They want them. There's a name for them over there, and they're basically the older, the iller, and that's what these dudes do. They basically abandon their families. They're terrible to their kids, and they go and they find they want to go and live this type of lifestyle, and that's what they get. And I look at Hulk Hogan, and I realize this guy, for us, he was a great wrestler, but not necessarily a great person. If you look at Jackie Chan, again, he's a great martial artist. He's worth something like $400 million. He basically has said that all of his money will be left to charity, and his children will get nothing. He's got like 2 kids. He's got a son, and he has a daughter. I believe they have different parents. His daughter suffered from like a lot of issues. I think she had issues with substances. She struggled a lot. And he basically, like, he could care less. To my understanding, he could literally care less about her. And then the son that he does really acknowledge, he's like, yeah, he's not getting anything from me either. He can go and figure his way out in the world. My kids will get nothing from me. All of my money will be left to charity. And that's when you have to really realize this is how these people operate. Not only did they want all the toys for themselves, they also want to ensure that their children don't get anything. They would rather the money go to the state, they would rather the money go to charity, they would rather the money go to corporations than to their children.
21 things that will be history when the baby boomer generation is gone. Giant china sets that are used once or twice in a lifetime. Not sure why there is a picture of a rug. Yahoo News. Apparently boomers are keeping Yahoo News alive. I didn't know that Yahoo News was still a thing. Phone books. Are these not already dead and gone? QVC, which is, for those of you who don't know, a shopping network that's on TV and people watch and they're like, oh, I want to buy that shit, and then they buy it. But we have TikTok Shop, so that's basically the same exact thing. Checkbooks. Yeah. Timeshares. Affordable housing. That is already fucking gone. We don't need to wait for boomers to leave this earth because this is happening right now. The idea that our entire lives should revolve around work. Workplace loyalty. Let me tell you something right now. If you are loyal to a corporation, if you're loyal to a company, not like I'm fucking mom and pop or like a startup or anything. If you're loyal to a corporation or a company, you're a motherfucking clown. Walking to and from school in the snow. Are boomers responsible for snow? Is snow gonna be gone when boomers across the fucking Rainbow Bridge or whatever the fuck, calling someone to tell them to open the email you just sent them. Is there anyone out there who is doing this actually? Actually owning stuff and not just subscribing to it? I gotta say, this one does make me sad. Because I know with fucking like movies and music, I used to have a lot of physical media and I love it. And with the way streaming services fucking are going nuts, I wish I still had copies of a lot of things. Suits in the workplace. Preach. Get rid of that shit. I used to have to wear a suit when I lived in Florida, of all fucking places, which is basically like putting a motherfucker in a sauna and being like, go and be businesslike when you're drenched in sweat and look like you just jumped in a fucking pool. Newspapers. Fax machines. Once again, isn't this already a thing that's gone? Like, I haven't seen a fax machine in fucking ages. In all the years that I've been in the workforce, I've never used a fax machine, never sent one, never received one. I hate my wife jokes. Landlines. Who still has a landline? I genuinely want to know that. Do any of you who see this currently have a landline? Grandfather clock repair? What? Like, what? Like, is this a knowledge that, like, the boomer generation keeps near and dear to themselves? Are there not, like, fucking YouTube tutorials on this? Cable TV. Once again, who the fuck has cable? 60s sitcoms. The way the article described it was basically like, the charm of 60s sitcoms will be lost on future generations because of, like, PC-ness. I don't fucking know.
Some of these kids, they did, their parents were generous to them, but again, to the world, they were not great people. And then their kids grow up with the same entitled attitudes, like, I got mine, my parents got theirs, too bad you didn't get yours. All right? It's your fault you didn't get yours. It's a very, very horrible way of thinking. Forget about kindness. It's like, if you look at the mentality of someone like Hulk Hogan did an interview. I would pull it up for you guys and toss it into the video, but you know how copyright is. But he basically was like talking about his belts and like his career, and he basically said it was nothing. It means literally nothing, and all his belts are garbage. And he would just smash them around. He's like, they're garbage. They mean nothing. And then he broke it down. He said that you get to be his age and you realize that the only thing that matters is your family and working to make your kids happy and give them a better life. That's what your legacy is. And he's like 58 years old right now. He's a member of Gen X. He's one of the older Gen Xers, but he is a firm member of Gen X. But then you look at like someone like Hulk Hogan, and Hulk just got baptized like just a few months ago. Like, he got remarried to this woman. I think she's like 47. She had like 3 kids, and he basically became a part of their life. And because the baby boomers they were never really designed for the family unit. So he got married to her, and he basically spent, like, I guess the last couple of years of his life, being more family orientated. But it's just kind of crazy. This is a person who more or less was not very good to his family. Again, I don't know his relationship with Linda Hogan. I know that they ended up divorcing. I don't know if there was infidelity involved on his part. We'll say 100%. If you're in a relationship with someone and it's just not working out, you should not be forced to stay in such a relationship. And I'm not talking about the whole, I'm just not feeling happy. Like, if you're in a really bad relationship, both people should be able to leave. And I'm not just saying, like, when the woman says, like, I'm just not happy. It's like, I have everything, but I still want more. No, if you guys are just not compatible people, you don't get along at all, it's fine to move on. But what a lot of these dudes do is they go right back to the streets. What did my father do? My father spent almost the last 2 decades, since our family collapsed, in the streets. The streets. And where is he? He's still in the streets. Okay? He has SCANCER. Where is he? He's in the streets. In a wheelchair. In the streets.
Boomers have how much money? So there's this thing called the Great Wealth Transfer, which is basically people talking about when baby boomers all die, the youngest one is in their 60s. It's starting to happen. But when the baby boomers die off, it's going to be the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. And I didn't really get it until today. I think everyone understands, the older generation, they're the wealthiest. They've held on to it. They had all the benefits of like low cost, everything growing up, and then they just kind of held it. Housing, school, everything. But you don't get how bad it is. Take in mind, this is just America. This is from the New York Times. Just looking at like generational wealth and how different it is in the United States. Boomers have half of the money. They have half of all the money. There's roughly $140 trillion of private wealth in the United States. The boomers have 78 trillion of it. Boomers have more money in real estate than millennials do in everything. Everything. $70 trillion. Are we ready for that? That's not just big by American standards. Half of all private ownership in America. It's 15%, rather more than 15% of all private wealth on the planet. The planet. Are any of us like ready for that? The richest generation in human history is about to hit the life expectancy and start dropping off like you wouldn't believe. And they are going to let $70 trillion go into the hands of younger people. Quite literally, we are taking it from their dead bodies. Does anyone else think that might, have some effects when we suddenly get half the wealth that's been gone? I say we because this is a pattern in most Western countries. The baby boomers got it good, and they have not let us have any of it so far.
Poor Gen Z, they think they're about to finally come up, but they don't understand what the boomers have done. They don't understand that the boomers, they have a lot of their wealth tied up in real estate because what they keep on doing is refinancing those homes. They don't actually own those properties. When they pass away, those properties will then be taken by the banks. And then the banks will sell them off to other groups, real estate groups, and then they will rent those properties to us, for extraordinary amounts of money that most of us cannot afford. So those properties, the real estate market, all of that's going to the corporations, all of that's going to the states. Again, many of the boomers are planning to die with nothing in their checking accounts. They are taking cruises to nowhere. Their intention is to leave nothing behind. If they can't take it with them, they plan to and spend it all before they pass. Many of them will just leave it to charity entirely. They will not leave it to their children. People like Jackie Chan, he's a baby boomer. He has a daughter who was struggling with substance issues. I think a son who's does okay, but he's not doing the greatest. His children are millennials, and he's basically made it clear as well that they will not inherit any of his wealth. He's done nothing to really help them. He said that when he passes, his $400 million fortune will be left to charity. His children will not receive anything. That's the idea. That's the behavior and ideologies of most baby boomers. Let's just leave it all. Let's either leave it all to charity or spend it all before we're gone. That's the mental state, okay? The kids will be just fine. If they want money, they can go and get it for themselves. There's a guy in Japan, okay? Think he's a boomer too. And there's like these games like brain age training games. And Nintendo basically wanted to make games based around his concept of like, oh, we're going to learn how, train the brain, blah, blah, blah. So they basically paid him something like $20 million, but he refused to accept it, saying that he didn't really have to work for it. So instead of accepting it, he's still like receiving royalties from it, to my understanding. Instead of taking any of the money, he basically left it to the university that he worked at, and they're still receiving that money. And he gave none of it to his family, none of it to his kids, saying that if my kids want money, they can go work for it. That is the idea of the baby boomers. They would rather leave it to charity. They would rather spend all of it. They would rather do anything they can possibly do to give it to someone else, including the state, than their kids. And some will say, well, that's because they want us to learn how to work for things. Guys, you understand that previous generations worked hard to ensure that future generations would be able to survive and thrive long after they're gone. There's the baby boomers don't have empathy. Most of them were narcissists. They just don't have it inside of them. Okay, and many of them will never admit that they don't have empathy, that they don't have maternal or paternal instincts. That's just who they are. Am I saying every baby boomer was like that? No, I'm not going after every boomer, but I'm saying as a group, these are the traits and tendencies that they had. They were not good people.
Baby boomers are really crazy as fuck. I asked my uncle why when I was growing up we couldn't make eye contact with you when you was eating. Back in the day, y'all remember those folding food trays? He would literally sit on the couch and have his folding tray right in front of him and have his plate of food. I'm talking about steak, mashed potatoes. It smelled so good, right? And all the kids, we would be sitting on the floor, but we was facing towards the TV. And you bet not turn your motherfucking ass around and look at him while he eat, right? Mind you, the kids wasn't allowed to eat what the adults ate, right? We ate bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Like hot dogs or beans or ravioli or those Encore microwavable Salisbury steaks, that bullshit, right? Meanwhile, he got a whole fucking big plate of food in the back smelling good as hell. Kids being kids, you gonna smell and you gonna turn around. Here, turn your motherfucking ass back around. And you, damn, okay. Scared, fearful. You can't even look out the side of your eye. And he going to work back there. He said it all boiled down to respect. That's the way he was raised, right? And that's when I knew these motherfuckers are crazy. The way that they was raised was crazy, and the shit that they put on us, I'm an older millennial, was crazy as hell. Ain't no way in the hell my son can't watch me eat. As a matter of fact, whatever I eat, my son eat. If I want a steak as big as my motherfucking back, like Bernie Mac said, they're going to get steaks just as big as they goddamn back. I don't understand that way of thinking. I had to break that generational curse. Now that I think about it, I'm like, we really was raised fucked up in so many ways, you know? I'm not even mad at him, though. And he still couldn't see that what he was doing was wrong. He's still saying that it was respect. That's how you show respect to elders. Kids stay in the kids' place. Kids don't eat what adults eat. Kids don't be... And I'm like, he still don't get it to this day. I'm like, no, y'all fucked up. I thank God we had enough sense to know that that shit didn't make sense then, and it don't make sense now.
I was educated by them. They were my teachers, and they were the worst, the dumbest, most narcissistic, the shallowest. Every sentence had like 9 cliches in it. They were all at Woodstock. They remembered when Kennedy was shot. It was the day the music died. Everything they said was like the Don McLean tune. It didn't make sense. It was just a series of evocative cliches strung together to create a feeling. They were idiots, but above all, they were about themselves. I hated them then. I hate them now. In 4th grade, I remember saying to a buddy of mine, I hate these people. Our math teacher just told us, I was at Woodstock. I was like, how many fucking people were at Woodstock? Like, everyone in America was at Woodstock? I thought it was 300,000 people. They made it sound like it was... They're the worst. They're the ones who lecture us about the civil rights movement for 40 years as the actual supposed beneficiaries of the civil rights movement, black people, declined. They didn't care. They were only about feeling good about themselves.
This is the legacy of the baby boomers. This is who they are. This is what they did in society. They were not great people. They did a lot of bad when it came to their kids. Many of them are now taking, what do you call those things? They're taking cruises to nowhere, and they're joining the pass away with nothing movement. It's called the die with zero movement, where the idea is to die with no money in your checking account. And they're doing this by going on these cruises to nowhere and spending endlessly and doing everything and anything they want, they can do and want to do, so that when they pass away, there will be nothing left behind. That just illustrates how much they don't like their kids. They don't care about the future generations. Before the baby boomers, every generation worked hard to ensure that every future generation would do better than they did. The whole idea and promise of the United States was that every generation will do better than the last. The baby boomers are the first generation that will have longer lives than their kids, their grandkids, their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids, and their great-great-grandkids. You're going to say, Angry, are you out of your damn mind, great-great-grandkids? Oh, I'll explain. When you factor in the oldest of the baby boomers right now, the oldest of the baby boomers will soon see their great-great-grandkids' generation. You're going to say, Angry, that doesn't make any sense. I'll explain. You see, the oldest of the baby boomers were born in 1946. So their kids are Gen X. The first of Gen X and older millennials. The first of Gen X is actually turned 60. The first of Gen X actually turned 60 in 2025, so this year. So the first generation of Gen X, which was born in 1965, turned 60 this past year, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So when you look at it from that lens, Gen X is 1965 through 1965 through 1980, and then you have the Zennials in there who are basically like 1977 through 1983, my generation. So we're basically a micro generation that exists between the millennials and Gen X. We're basically too old to be a part of the older millennials. So it's just how it is. So basically anyone who was a child of the baby boomers would understand the system where, you had Gen X, who are the children of the boomers, older millennials. Then you have millennials. Then you have Gen Z. Then you have Gen Z. Then you have Gen Alpha. And then starting in, I think it's 2020. I think it's maybe this year, either 2025 or 2026, is the first year of Gen Beta. And what this signifies is actually that many of the oldest members of the baby boomers will now be having their great grandkids very soon. Because you have to understand, the baby boomers were born in 1946. So the first of the baby boomer generation will turn 80 next year. 80. Hence, many of them will start having great grandchildren. There are already a bunch of boomers who have great grandchildren already. But there will be many who will now see their great grandchildren soon. And their legacy is not a good legacy. They are the first generation they're the first generation that strived to do better than their kids. And they mostly succeeded at it. They left us with next to nothing and made it very clear that we didn't deserve anything. And of course, I'm going to have a lot of baby boomers who are going to come to the video and try to bash me and say that they got it's your fault. I'll tell you guys something very interesting. So Andy Matrix actually reached out to me a while ago, and he shared this information. He said that one of his subscribers, a viewer from his channel, reached out to him, and he was a baby boomer, and I guess he had to re-enter the workforce. And he basically said to Andy, he told Andy how hard life is right now. And he's like, wow, I'm surprised how bad the actual job market is and how hard things are. I didn't realize it. He said, and the guy said, listen, I'm a white guy, and back when I was growing up, if you were a white guy, you would just get a job. And again, I'm not talking about politics, race politics, or anything. But he said that most white guys, and again, I don't know how it worked for other groups of people, but I suspect it was not significantly different. But basically, if you were a man back in those days, you would basically just get a job, and there were just jobs there for everyone. And it didn't really matter if you were smart or not. It didn't matter. None of these things mattered. You would just be handed a job. It's something that the MGTOWs used to say, is that a lot of jobs back in those days were created for these people. Were created for the baby boomers. There's a lot of jobs that they were just given jobs that went nowhere. And I'll tell you, I noticed a pattern. For example, when I started working, my very first job, I want to say out of high school, but I started working in high school, and then I moved up into the company when I got old. After I graduated, I noticed that a lot of the jobs that these older people were doing made no sense. You could automate these jobs 20 years ago. You could automate these jobs with computers. And I'm like, why are these people even doing these jobs? Why are they stamping these forms and then putting them in boxes? This doesn't make any sense. It was only decades later. Well, decades, almost decades later, that I realized and I fully understood that these jobs were just created for them. These jobs were created for these people so that they would have work and could be busy. And then they would spend decades in these jobs doing literally nothing, collecting money and enjoying their lives. And these jobs were completely inefficient, but that was the point. The point was just to keep them busy and keep a check flowing to them.
Every black house. Oh, if you can do this, then you can do that. As an example. Oh, if you know the lyrics to them songs, you can do your homework. Or if you can talk on the phone, you can wash them dishes. Or if you know the lyrics to that song, you should know your alphabets. Here's another one. It'll be a cold day in hell before I. Hindsight is 50-50. What does that even mean? Here's another one. If you don't know how to spell it, sound it out. Here's another one. Mama, where you going? To go see a man about a dog? What? We didn't get that until we got older. Your grandparents used to say, be good. But if you can't be good, be careful. Here's another one. We got food at the house. Another one they used to say is, don't assume it makes an ass out of you. And then if you ever used assume back to them, like if you said, Mama, don't assume, she'll come back and say, assume them dishes. Why don't you assume that homework? Why don't you assume that trash can? Here's another one. Stop crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about. Another one was, why you crying? You couldn't even cry. Another one was, hay is for horses. What? But they would always call you like, hey, but told us, hay is for horses. Money doesn't grow on trees. And if so-and-so jumped off of a bridge, you gonna jump too? Here's one. I've never understood this one. Tough titty. What is that? What is a tough titty? Here's another one. You'll live. Mama, I broke my foot. You'll live. Mama, I scraped my knee. You'll live. Mama, I don't feel well. You'll live. Mama, I got into a fight. You'll live. And you better have one. Always followed with, you bought this on yourself.
No one is perfect in this world. I'm not talking about the controversy surrounding Hulk Hogan. I'm talking about his family. I'm talking about the way he chose to live his life. He doesn't even have a lot of grandkids, to my understanding. I don't know if Nick had any kids. I think only Brooke has kids. And I don't think he ever got to meet them. And where was he? What was he doing? He was busy out and about. This is exactly how my own father was. He was always out. Even when he was married to my mother, he was out there in the streets with other women. Always out there with other women. And he basically tried to wrap it in a layer of godliness and act like he was a godly man. He's just with these women because he's a godly man. That was just the church was literally just his scene. That was his club right there. That's where he would go to meet women. And the truth is, I've talked to you guys about how the church really operates. I don't know. It's just really sad. But again, I look at it now and I look at it from a different lens, a lens of an adult, and I realize that Hulk Hogan, his legacy is just a really complicated legacy. It's a really difficult legacy. Hulk made a lot of mistakes. We all make mistakes, but the biggest mistake was the fact that he was just not properly focused on his family. He was not properly focused on giving his kids a better life. These people just did not have the equipment. They were not equipped to be really functional adults. And they spent most of their lives basically just out and about looking like action figures, like Barbie. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. How many modern women still maintain that attitude and that belief that they're you're 60 years old and you're still a young woman and you're still basically the world is your playground, the world is your sea, and you're just, it's like, what? They were never cultivated. They were never taught to focus on the family, to put money aside for your kids, put money aside for your retirement, to be responsible. Even though they preach responsibility and accountability to their own children, they never lived by that. They were just shifting responsibility to everyone else and accountability to everyone else and making everyone else pay for it. If you look at the situation with Social Security, they're saying that Gen Z will have to pay for their Social Security. And the reason why they're saying Gen Z is going to have to pay for it, it's because the millennials are tapped out. You cannot place any more. You can't put any more debt on the millennials. The millennials are completely tapped out with student loans and personal debt. They're completely tapped out. And Gen Z is living off these not even payday loans, but these things like Affirm and so forth, like all of these buy now, pay later schemes. Gen Z is basically living off this garbage right now. And the mindset of Gen Z is that they don't care what happens in the future. I get it. I realize how they think because they're saying it. They don't care. They don't really care about themselves. They don't care if they're here or not. This is the mindset that they have right now. And it's like, I don't like their bad behavior. I don't like how they're acting in society, but I understand why they feel this way. I understand why they've given up. I don't agree with their behavior, but don't misunderstand. I understand. Because no matter what you do, you can't, there's no getting ahead today. It's basically just being a cog in the machine. And the baby boomers, the lifestyle that they've lived, the lifestyle that they continue to live, taking cruises to nowhere, where they're planning to spend the rest of their lives on these Carnival cruise ships. They sell their homes and then they go on these Carnival cruise ships for the rest of their lives, and they're going to basically stay out at sea for the rest of their lives. And that's it. And it's like, what about your kids? What about your family? And the boomers are kind of like, what about them? And then it's like, what if something goes wrong? What if everything breaks down? Like, what if you can't maintain this lifestyle? And we all know what the real answer is. They'll basically just go to the government and turn to the government and expect the government to supplement them. And of course, they'll show up on the doorsteps of their kids and say, yeah, I'm broke, take me in. And that's what ends up happening with a lot of Gen X kids, where their parents, basically when they're in their 50s, when they're in their 50s, their Gen X parents basically show up right before they're about to end up homeless and tell them, yeah, I'm about to end up homeless. You need to give me a roof over my head, food in my belly, and help me with my finances because I suck at that. This is the baby boomers for us, y'all. This is who they are. So I just had all of those feelings, especially now with the passing of Hulk and all of these thoughts, because I realized that he did not have a good legacy, and it's a reflection of the baby boomers as a whole. I'm not going into any of the controversies, anything related to what he's said and what he's done. I'm talking more so about how he treated his family and the type of life he lived. I do think he tried with Nick, but think about it. How did Nick end up in this condition? It was a failure at home. Why does his daughter refuse to speak to him? Because of how he treated her. Okay? He's literally almost the exact same age as my father. My father is 70 years old now. 70. Hulk was 71. They're practically the same exact age. And look at their legacy. Look at them. It's a disgrace. I'll give Ozzy Osbourne at least a little credit, because no matter what, it seems like he was at least still there with his family. He was still there with his kids. I don't know if he was the greatest of fathers, but his kids stuck by him. They stuck by him. And that has to say something. The fact that they stuck. So, and we even, no matter what, even after they got off their show, they were still pretty close. Right? And I know that they've had their ups and downs, but I think that whatever Ozzy is leaving behind, all of that money, that's going to his family. That's going to his children. It's not going to charity. Versus someone like Jackie Chan, who wants to leave nothing behind. Hulk Hogan, I don't really know how much money he's leaving behind. I don't know if it's really as much as we even think it will be. Probably a few $1,000,000. Maybe. It could be more, could be less. It's just sad and it's pathetic. It's sad and it's pathetic. And honestly, I don't even know if his daughter's going to be, because of the lifestyle that he lived. I don't even know if his daughter Brooke is going to go to his funeral. Look at Eminem. We know the turbulence relationship he had with his mother. And what did Eminem do? He has his daughter Haley, and he dedicated basically his future to Haley. And he does like literally he treated recording like a job. And people would say like, Eminem, we don't understand you. Like he'd come to the studio, he'd get to work, he would get his job done, and he's like going hard in the studio, and then five rolls around and he just gets up and walks out. And it's normal to stay in a studio when you're a musician all night long. And Eminem he'd get there at 9 and he would be out at 5. And eventually, like, someone asked him, like, M, what's going on, man? Like, why are you acting like this? And he told them, this is just a job to me. My future, my focus is on my family. 50 Cent even called Eminem out on it like 20 years ago. He's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Like, why aren't you here hustling and trying to make as much money as possible? And he basically said that his focus was on raising his daughter, was on raising Haley. And she recently got married, I think, not too long ago, and she's now having I don't know if she already had she got pregnant, and I don't know if she already had the baby. And 50 Cent said not too long ago, he said that when he went to Haley's wedding, he finally understood what Eminem was talking about. Because none of these people, like guys like 50 Cent, he's not a family orientated person. He has kids, but he's not a family orientated person. He's a businessman. And you can see that he's firmly a businessman, and he's firmly about getting his money and living and living for himself. I'm not saying he's a bad dude, but it's a difference in mentality. Eminem figured it out before everyone else. He figured it out before everyone else, and he put a focus upon his family. And that's his legacy. His legacy will not be his rap career. His legacy will not be all of his fans. His legacy will not be his wealth. His legacy will be his family. He came from a very broken home, and he's essentially got exactly what he wanted. He got the family that he wanted. Everything else doesn't matter. And that's the beautiful part of it. And the thing is that when he's still in his 50s now, he's still a pretty young dude. I think he's like early 50s. And you have to realize, like, 10 years, 20 years, like, where will he be in 20 years? Where will M be in 20 years? Where will he even be in 10 years if he's still around? Because he used a lot of, DRUGs. But if he's still here in 10 years, he'll probably be happy with his grandkids. 20 years. Watching his grandkids go off to college now. Go to high school, graduate from high school, go off to college. I mean, that's his legacy. And he's made so much money that he can give all of them better lives. It doesn't mean you have to raise them like the baby boomers. Don't give them everything that they want. Make them work for things. But he can now leave a massive legacy behind, a massive fortune behind, where multiple generations will be able to do well, will be able to survive and thrive. If that money is spent wisely, invested wisely, and spent wisely, that money can take care of his kids, can take care of his family for possibly the next 100 to 200 years. And you guys might say, well, Angry, you're crazy. But I mean, how much, I'll look it up for you guys. Like, Eminem net worth, right? I'll look up Eminem's net worth. His net worth is as of 2025, his net worth is estimated to be around $250 million. $250 million. So, I mean, if it's, and it looks about accurate. It looks about accurate. Because multiple sources are saying that. So if his net worth is anywhere around that kind of money, realistically speaking, as long as future generations live wisely and within their means, that kind of money could, with proper investing, can probably take care of his kids for the next 200 years or more. 200 years. Do you think the baby boomers are thinking anything like that? Jackie Chan, 2 kids. Not one, his daughter not doing well. His son struggled, like just getting by. Jackie, my $400 million fortune will not go to my children. All right, they will not get a penny of it. It's going to charity. Thank you, baby boomers. And that's why I say Hulk Hogan leaves behind a troubled legacy, and it's very much a reflection of his generation as a whole, where most of them will now leave behind this type of legacy. But let me know if you agree with everything I said, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video, and just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.